I found my wife's secret second phone. What I read changed everything. Hey Reddit, I'm using a throwaway account because this is raw, and I don't know where else to turn. 36M. Never thought I'd be writing here, but life has a way of humbling you. My wife, Anna, 34F, and I have been married for 8 years. Not perfect, no marriage is, but we were best friends, or so I thought. We met in college, made it through broke years, rented crappy apartments, and slowly built a life together. I always pictured us as that old couple bickering over tea, still in love. Lately, though, things have felt off. Anna used to laugh at my dumb jokes, but now she barely looks up from her phone. She started going out more, late, work meetings, sudden trips to see her sister. I told myself it was just work stress, or maybe I was projecting my anxiety about a recent layoff. But the little things started adding up. A coldness in her hugs, her phone always face down, whispering in the hallway. At night, she'd clutch her phone like a lifeline. I tried not to snoop. I wanted to trust her. But sometimes, the person you love becomes a stranger right in front of you, and your gut starts screaming at you to wake up. Last week, she came home late, smelling faintly of a cologne I didn't recognize, claiming it was from a crowded Uber. I laughed it off, then immediately hated myself for doubting her. So here I am, typing into the void, wondering, am I losing my mind, or is my marriage slipping through my fingers? I never imagined I'd be the guy checking for signs, questioning every word. But I can't shake the feeling that something is about to break. 2 nights ago, it happened. I wish I could say I was brave and went looking for answers, but the truth is, I just tripped over them. Anna was in the shower and asked me to grab her charger from her purse. I reached in, and that's when I felt it. A second phone, cold and unfamiliar. I froze. My mind went 1,000 directions at once. Anna's always had the same phone since we met. This one was different, older, smaller, barely noticeable unless you knew it was there. My heart started pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I told myself it was probably nothing, maybe a work phone, but I knew her company policy. No way. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the bathroom door, debating whether to look. I wish I could say I put it back. I didn't. The phone wasn't locked. I scrolled through, hands shaking. That's when everything shattered. There were dozens of messages, some from unsaved numbers, some with names I didn't recognize. One in particular stood out. Their conversation was intimate, flirty. They referenced meeting up, inside jokes, even pictures, nothing explicit, but enough to make my skin crawl. My breath caught as I realized there were months of these. Old messages, recent ones, voice notes, calls. Some messages even referenced me casually, like I was just a minor inconvenience. I felt like I was watching my life fall apart in real time, paralyzed and numb, listening to the shower run as if nothing was wrong. I put the phone back before she came out, acting normal, but inside, I was a mess. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying every moment in my head, wondering how long I'd been living in someone else's story. The next morning, Anna acted completely normal. Made coffee, kissed me on the cheek, asked about my plans for the day. I tried to mirror her calm, but I was barely holding it together. Every word out of her mouth sounded fake, like she was reading from a script. I went through the motions at work, but my mind was somewhere else. At every red light, I saw flashes of those messages. I kept hearing M's voice notes in my head, the easy way Anna responded to him, joking, teasing, comfortable. She'd never texted me like that, not in years. I thought about telling someone, but who? Our closest friends are her friends, too. My family always adored Anna, and I couldn't stand the idea of dragging them into this until I knew for sure what I was dealing with. I spent hours scrolling through my phone, rereading our old texts, comparing her tone then to now. When did she start pulling away? Was there something I missed, a moment when she gave up on us and I was too blind to notice? Every little thing she did started to seem suspicious. She left for yoga and full makeup. She giggled at texts she wouldn't show me. She guarded her purse like it held nuclear codes. I hated the person I was becoming, paranoid, bitter, obsessed. But once you know there's a secret, it's impossible to pretend you don't. That night, I barely slept. I just lay there next to her, listening to her breathe, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. Part of me wanted to confront her right then, demand answers, rip the bandage off. But another part was terrified of what I'd hear. What if there was no coming back from this? By the third day, I couldn't take it anymore. My mind was eating itself alive. Every time Anna smiled at her phone, my stomach twisted. She noticed I was distant and asked if I was okay. I lied, said work was stressful, but she barely seemed to care. The distance between us was a canyon, and I was on the edge, staring down. I started making excuses to leave the house so that I could breathe. I drove around for hours, thinking about what to do. Do I confront her? Do I try to catch her in a lie? Should I tell a friend? Part of me wanted to smash that second phone, force the truth into daylight. Another part clung to denial, hoping this was all a misunderstanding. Maybe M was just a friend. Maybe I was missing something. But the messages wouldn't leave me alone. I reread them in my mind until they blurred together. The worst part? There was a tenderness in how she spoke to him. A warmth I hadn't seen from her in years. Was I just a roommate now? Background noise to her real life? Finally, I reached out to my old friend Dave. We hadn't talked in months, but he was always honest, sometimes brutally so. We met for a drink. I told him everything about the phone, the messages, and my suspicions. He listened quietly, then said, "You can't unsee this, man. You have to talk to her, no matter how bad it hurts. The truth is already out." That night, I made up my mind. I was done living in limbo. Tomorrow, I will ask Anna directly. I rehearsed it in my head as I fell asleep, heart pounding. I had no idea what was about to hit me. The next evening, my nerves were shot. Anna was scrolling through her phone at the kitchen table when I finally said, "We need to talk." She looked up, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face before she forced a smile. I took a deep breath. "I found the second phone in your purse." The room went silent. So quiet I could hear the hum of the fridge. Her eyes widened, but she didn't say anything at first. Then she tried to play dumb, asking, "What phone?" But I could see her hands trembling. I pressed on, voice shaking, "Don't lie to me, Anna. I saw the messages with M. I know what's been going on." She stared at me, and for a second I thought she might cry. But instead, her face hardened. "You had no right to go through my things," she snapped. "If you have a problem, maybe you should have talked to me instead of spying." My chest tightened. "I wanted to believe you, Anna, but you shut me out." "Who is he?" She was silent for a moment, then shrugged. "He's just a friend. Someone I met through work. I needed someone to talk to, someone who attends. You're always so busy with your problems." I could feel my blood boiling. "Don't turn this around on me. You hid a whole second life from me." The argument went back and forth. Her denying, then deflecting, then finally getting angry. She accused me of being controlling, of not trusting her. The fight escalated until she stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her. I stood in the kitchen, shaking, staring at the empty doorway, wondering if this was the end of everything. Anna didn't come home that night. I sat in the dark living room, replaying every word we'd said, feeling hollow and exhausted. Around midnight, I got a text. "I need space. Don't call me." Just like that, the person I'd shared 8 years with had become a ghost behind a phone screen. The next morning, I woke up to silence. Her side of the bed was cold and untouched. I checked the closet. Some of her things were gone. I felt a strange mix of panic and relief. At least I didn't have to pretend anymore. Within hours, the fallout spread. Dave texted to check on me, and I finally broke down, telling him everything. Word must have traveled, because by evening, Anna's sister called. She sounded angry and worried at the same time, demanding to know what happened, if Anna was safe, what I'd done to drive her away. I told her the truth, but she didn't want to hear it. Mutual friends started reaching out. Some took my side, but most were careful, as if betrayal might be contagious. I could feel people pulling away, awkwardly choosing sides without saying so. Alone in our apartment, I stared at family photos, trying to make sense of it all. Was I so blind? Had I missed every sign, or had Anna just gotten that good at hiding things? That night, the loneliness hit hard. I scrolled through old pictures of us, vacations, birthdays, even our wedding, and it all felt fake, like someone else's life. I realized I had no idea what was coming next, only that everything I thought was solid had suddenly turned to quicksand. A few days passed. I barely slept, barely ate. Anna still hadn't come home. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped, hoping for an explanation or maybe just closure. Instead, I got a message from an unknown number. "You don't know me, but you need to hear the truth about Anna. Call me." I hesitated, my gut twisting. Was this M? Against my better judgment, I called. A man's voice answered, calm, almost apologetic. He introduced himself as Mark, Anna's coworker. Not just a friend, as it turned out, but her affair partner. He said he couldn't keep lying and didn't want things to get uglier. Mark told me he and Anna had been seeing each other for almost a year. It started as late-night talks about work, then drinks, then hotel rooms. He claimed Anna told him our marriage was basically over, that we were just roommates. He sounded regretful, even embarrassed, and swore he didn't know she was keeping us both in the dark. Hearing it from someone else made it real. I hung up and just sat there, numb. All the little lies, the nights alone, the sudden coldness, it all made sense. There was no more denying it. Later that day, Anna finally came home. She looked exhausted, like she'd aged 10 years in a week. I told her I'd spoken to Mark. The fight that followed was brutal, tears, shouting, apologies that felt empty. She admitted everything, said she was sorry. Indy said she never meant to hurt me. But the damage was done. I realized forgiveness wasn't going to fix this. After Anna's confession, the silence between us was deafening. She tried to explain, said she felt lonely and unappreciated, that Mark just listened in ways I hadn't for years. It stung, but I knew there was truth in that. Marriage isn't just about love. It's about maintenance, attention, effort. But nothing could justify her secret life. She wept, begging for another chance, promising to cut off contact with Mark, to rebuild from scratch. I wanted to believe her. Part of me still saw the woman I married, the friend I thought I knew. But every word out of her mouth felt hollow, rehearsed, like she was already preparing her next excuse. I told her I needed space and asked her to leave for a while. She packed a bag and walked out quietly, shoulders slumped, eyes red. No drama, just defeat. Over the next week, I crashed at Dave's place. He never once said, "I told you so." Instead, we played video games in silence, drank too much, and watched dumb movies until dawn. That's when the reality set in. This was happening. Anna's sister texted me an apology, admitting she hadn't known the truth either. Some friends disappeared, others quietly checked in. My mom called every day, offering comfort and practical advice. But the nights were the worst. I'd lie awake replaying every moment, every laugh, every lie, every "I love you." I kept wondering, was I that easy to fool, or was I just too willing to ignore the signs? At some point, you have to stop blaming yourself for someone else's choices. I just didn't know how yet. I spent the next weeks in a haze, moving through the motions of life without really feeling present. I went back to our apartment a few times, packed up some clothes, avoided our bedroom, tried not to look at the wall of photos. The place felt haunted. Every corner reminded me of a version of my life that no longer existed. Anna texted a few times, always the same theme. She missed me. She wanted to talk. She wanted a second chance. I ignored most of them, but eventually agreed to meet for coffee. She looked tired, smaller somehow. We talked, honestly, for the first time in years. She admitted she'd been unhappy for a long time, that she didn't know how to tell me. She said Mark was out of the picture, but I could hear the uncertainty in her voice. I told her I couldn't go back. Too much had been broken. She cried quietly and apologized again. I felt more numb than angry. The truth was, I wasn't even sure who I was angry with anymore. Her, Mark, myself, or just fate. Afterward, I called my mom. She listened as I rambled, then said something that stuck. You can't heal in the same place you were hurt. I finally let myself cry, all the anger and sadness washing over me in waves. Friends started to come around again. Dave dragged me to the gym, my sister called with bad jokes, and even Anna's sister reached out to apologize again. I realized the world was still spinning, even if I felt stuck. Maybe, somehow, that was a kind of hope. It took months, but little by little, I started to find myself again. I filed for divorce. There was no dramatic showdown. Just paperwork, lawyers, and a last awkward meeting to split our things. Anna tried to talk me out of it, but deep down, I think she knew it was over, too. Someday, as I woke up missing her, missing what we'd built. Other days, I felt relief, a strange lightness, even with all the pain. I focused on the small things, new routines, meeting friends for coffee, going for long walks. The apartment was emptier, but my mind was quieter. I started therapy mostly just to hear myself say things out loud that I'd kept buried. My therapist told me healing wasn't about getting over it, but about learning to trust myself again. That resonated more than I expected. Anna moved out of town not long after. I heard through mutual friends that she was starting over somewhere new. Part of me wishes her well. The rest just want to let go. So here's my advice for anyone who finds themselves where I was. Trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs because you're afraid of what they mean. And if you discover a betrayal, remember, it's not a reflection of your worth, but a choice someone else made.